Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes, change our lives. Achana, Tishrei, Elul, Ledodi, the Rebbe's maamer, Chavav. This share is sponsored by Tamar Flammer in honor of her husband's birthday. Shavashnas Tzlacha, Bagashis Baruchnias, everything it needs. We discuss the sponsorship. Have all the brachas in the world. Okay, so continuing on. We're up to Ois Dalad of the maamer. So we've been discussing that Ledodi, which is representative of the avodah that the Yid does to Hashem, and Ledodi is representing that what Hashem gives. And in the beginning of the first place, we said that represents Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, the Ledodi, and Ledodi is Elul. But we said, but the Rosh Tevis of Elul is Ledodi, which means Ledodi is also in Elul. So we said this is like the third Nedrus of mercy, in that in Elul you have this Yud Gimel Rachmim, extra time period of extra mercy from Hashem, that He gives us the opportunity to connect. And that this level of Yud Rachmim goes to everyone. So that's sort of the Ledodi in Elul. But then we said, but if that's the case, then how does it fit in with the concept of Elul, which is all this the arousal from below, the efforts and inspiration that we produce ourselves. So we said, this is to understand this is like the king in the field. Meaning it's the king, it's the Yudim Rachmim, it's all that inspiration, but it's in the field. It's not in the palace. And what's the difference in the field and the palace? When the king's in the field, wearing his royal garments, first of all, not everyone can go, but even more, it's automatically inspiring. Automatically it has its effect. It's all, you're awestruck and it affects you. Whereas in the field, you have to go out and greet him. That's essentially what we've been saying now. And that's what the marshal of the king of the field is bringing to us. It's telling us that Hashem is connected with us, just like he's in the palace, even more so, because everyone can go greet him. It goes to everyone. He's accessible to everyone. Unlike in the palace, which is not accessible to everyone. But he's not in his grandeur, and you have to go out yourself and go greet him. Now we're going to discuss, today we're going to discuss the marshal. In the marshal, it says, very interesting, we'll do it outside, then we'll go inside. In the marshal, he says that Kol Mishareitzer Yachal Kabel, everyone who wants can receive him. V'hu Makabelos Kulam. Then it says, and what the king does is Makabelos Kulam, b'seif upon him Yafais, Amar Lehem Panim Sechukais. That the king receives the person that comes out and he shows him a smiling and a happy countenance. Now, the question we're going to ask, it goes back to the same issue. We're saying that in Elul, it's all Ledodi. It's really the efforts that we put in. It's just the king's in the field. The king is there. You still have to go out and get him. You have to go greet him. You have to put in the effort. It's just that he makes himself sinas koyach. He makes it possible for you to go greet him. But when we say that the king greets him with a smiling countenance, that inspires. If you know that the king's driving past, it doesn't mean anything to you. But if the king's there and he's smiling and he's taking photos and he's speaking to you and he's listening, it's a whole different experience, and that's inspiring. If that's inspiring, that goes against the action that we have is Elul about Ledodi. It's about all our efforts, and that's taking away our efforts. And ultimately, we said that our effort is what's really, that's where it sticks. That's the depth, and that's what we're going to discuss. And just to have in mind what we're learning is we shouldn't get, like, as much as we want to understand, we should get caught up in understanding the marshal. We also have to not forget the nimshal, meaning it's not just about a king in the field. It's about us. We're in the field, and where the people going to greet the king, and the king is Hashem. And we have this opportunity to greet Hashem. And the discussion that we're having is Hashem inspiring us, or are we inspiring ourselves? On one hand, it seems that Elul, we talk about Elul, and we talk about it all the time, so that's inspiring. But is it really us? So is it coming from us, coming from Hashem, and what effort we've put in? And ultimately, we have to sit down and we have to try to greet the king in the field, meaning Hashem is available in Elul more than every other time of the year. And we have to try to put in the effort to tap into that energy that it has. And like I said yesterday, it's about the little things, about making big cheshbonos and transforming your life, which is also a nice thing to do. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. All I'm saying is don't bite off more of the pie that you can bite, and find small things that you probably should, that you should be doing. You just forget about it, and making that cheshbon and realizing what you can work on and work on that. Okay, Eis Daled, page 334 in this sefer and wherever else, also in the PDF, whoever got the PDF. Eis Daled. We need to understand that the l'chayra seemingly kedei lavash agili de'elu, in order to explain that the revelation of Elul v'hanesinas koyach shal yedei agili, and the opportunity that this revelation gives kul chalech le'echad is to every single person who is saying negei arak. This is only so the fact that everyone it affects everyone, that everyone has the king in the field, so to speak, meaning that king in the field gets to everyone. So, and that's sort of what we said, that's the mashal of the king in the field, that it's in the field, which means it's everyone, and it's the king, but it's on a low level versus the palace. So that idea that the king greets everyone is negei rakush hamelech basadeh. So Hashem yechilin kol misha reitzeh l'hakbil panav. Like he says in the mashal, it's that when the king is in the field, Rashayim Yechelim, it's you're allowed, and it's permissible, and you're allowed, whoever wants, to greet the king, which shows us that it's for everyone. The Lama Meisif, so why does the Alter Rebbe add in his mashal, Shamelech Mekablos Kulam B'Sefer Panim Yafos, Omar Panim Sechuk Esachom? But in the mashal, the Alter Rebbe adds something. He says that the king receives, and not just he's there available to everyone, that whoever wants, Kol Mishareitze, Kol Mishareitze, L'Hakbil Panav, Rashayim V'Yechelim, is able. That's the message he's trying to give. But then he adds to this message and he says, and the king receives them, B'Sefer Panim Yafos, with a smiling countenance. Umar Panim Sechuk Esachom, and he shows a smiling countenance. So you see them all pleasantly, and he shows them a smiling countenance. Now, the Rebbe is asking, why do we need to put this in the mashal? Specifically, when we say that the king greets them all with a pleasantly, and he shows them a smiling countenance, what does that mean? This is really the hamshacha, the drawing down, and the revelation that comes after the avodah. After you went to greet the king, so what we're telling you in the Nimshul, we're saying, Alter was telling us, he's trying to explain to us that Elul is that the king is Hashem is available, but it's not inspiring. So what does he say? I'll give you a marshal, the king's in the field. The king's in the field, telling you, hey, you're not going to get inspired because like Hashem and Kippur, but you have to know that Hashem is available. You have to just go out and greet him, and you can get the same hamshachis, same abilities. We can get Rosh and Kippur, you can get. But then we add and we say, and if you go out and try to get the king, he's going to show him a smiling countenance. You're going to feel it. You're going to be affected. You're going to have that inspiration. You're going to, from above, it's going to affect you, and it's going to be excitement. You're going to it's going to change you. But the problem is, and move on. This idea of the inspiration that comes from above, that affects you, is really understanding Yom Kippur. The Hamashal, and the whole Mashal, the king in the field, this is all an explanation on the revelation of Elul. Which the whole Mashal, the king is in the field, is before you go to the palace. Then you go to the palace, that's when it's all inspiring, and you see the king in his glory, and it's awe-inspiring. But the purpose of the Mashal, the king in the field, is that it's not awe-inspiring. It's the king in the field. But if I tell you, you're going to get the king, not just you're going to be able to see him going past, but you're going to be able to speak to him, and he's going to talk to you, and he's going to smile at you, and he's going to be so nice to you. That's very inspiring. But that's meant to be, according to the Alter Rebbe's, what he's trying to teach us, that should be in Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. And it says, "Made true. Why is it being brought down in the mashal? It's confusing the mashal. The mashal is trying to say that Elul, the king's in the field, and meaning you can greet him. You put in the effort, you can greet him. The inspiration is going to be on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. You're not getting inspired by itself on Elul, but in the mashal, then he says, but the king greets them all smiling with a smiling countenance and happily, which is inspiring. It's confusing what he's trying to tell us. So the Rebbe is asking, why are these words here? So why are these words here? And the second thing we need to understand. Shnei ha'inyanim makabel b'seif upon yafos u'mara. He says these two points that he's adding that is confusing. Makabel, he receives them all. What does it mean he receives them? And what does it mean? Mara upon him, b'seif upon yafos, shemara, and he shows. He receives and he shows. What does that mean? A smiling countenance. So what does that mean? He receives and he shows. That even though when he says he receives them, it's that it's a smiling countenance. But then that's when he receives them. He receives them with pleasantly. But what he shows them is a smiling countenance. So when he receives them, he receives them pleasantly, and when he shows them, is a smiling countenance. So what's going on over here? It's written here funny. The chidush, the novelty of the revelation, the not just the mercy, but Elul, Lagabe, Gili, Rishon, and Kippur. So what we're saying is that there's two levels of this revelation. There's a level of revelation of godliness as he is in the palace, on Rishon and Kippur, and Sesame Tshuva, and then there is as he is in the field. So he's revealing himself, not just he's there available, but he's showing his smiling countenance and his pleasantly, but that's a different level than as it is on Rishon and Kippur. No, to receive the king's countenance and smiling, all that happened on Rosh and Kippur when he's in the palace. That's through Avodah. You have to come and do a whole Avodah of Elul to be able to get into the king's palace. Like it says in the Mashal, it's only Muvchaim Shabam, it's only the nation's elite, and special people. It's not everyone. In order to receive the revelation of Elul, you don't have to go greet the king. Meaning the Rebbe is saying like this. He's saying, it seems like what we're saying, that these smiling countenance and showing and is pleasantly and receiving us pleasantly is the same thing as happening on Rosh and Kippur. But clearly we see that is very different. That what we receive from God on Elul versus what we see and receive on Rosh and Kippur. So he's saying it is different, because on Rosh and Kippur, what you're going to gain and all that effort and all inspiration, and the real inspiration, the real depth of inspiration is all through the avoid of Elul. Whereas in Elul, in order to be able to greet the king and get all that inspiration, it's only about putting the effort. Just got to go greet the king. You don't have to do anything specific. You don't have to be a person of stature to get in to greet the king. Meaning, you don't have to have a hachana of a month of avodah to go get this revelation of godliness. Just go. In Elul, and you start. There's no achana for Elul. You know what I mean? There's achana. Elul is the achana for Tishrei, but for Elul is no achana. That's all. And that's what we're saying. You don't need an achana. You can get. You can just go greet the king. You have to receive the king. So in practical terms, he's saying this is the arousal, meaning this is inspiring ourselves, and this is Kabbalah Zoh. And this is taking upon ourselves the yoke of Hashem. That in Elul we say, I have to do what Hashem wants, and I have to remind myself that I have not necessarily always been doing what Hashem wants, and I gotta do that. And the second idea, another idea, what we're showing from this smiling countenance and greeting them pleasantly, is that in Elul, even if you're in the desert, you can come greet the king. Meaning this idea that the Rebbe is asking, it's like a lot more, but the time is running out. So I just think we'll sort of finish here and we'll summarize to get it clear. So I just finished the last point, and then we'll tie it all back in. And Elul, you can also be in the desert. Desert spiritually means a place devoid of godliness, of spirituality. Klippa. Because the whole point of the Yudgim Rachim that is produced in Elul, that Hashem is giving, is not to do tshuva. And what's tshuva? simply not the deeper levels of tshuva, but the simple level of tshuva is pshuta hial yanim b'tirtzim. As not good things, meaning the klipa. Yeah, we'll have to continue do that again. Whatever, we'll continue from here on Monday. But the story is like this. So let's just have this clear, because it's a very important point. And this is sort of what you can learn from this. Also, when we're learning a maamer, especially like this maamer, to not get lost in the details and see the forest. And if you do that, you see that when the Rebbe is talking about seemingly like high yanim or things that are above, it's really negea to below. He's talking about us. You just have to pay attention to it, not get lost in the details. Basically, he's saying like this: the marshal that Alter Rebbe is giving of the king in the field is to teach us, is to try to explain how is it possible that on one hand in Elul, Hashem is revealing Himself with the Yud Gimel Midas Harachamim, but together with that, that doesn't inspire us. So what he's saying, it's like the king in the field, that the king is there, but he's not inspiring. You have to go and greet him. It's not like if you go and met the king in the palace, that'd be a whole different experience. So it's a much lower level of experience. Or like we're saying in the maamer, it's in the sinas koyach. It's, if you tap into it, it gives you this ability to be able to go very far. But but you're gonna have to put in the effort. Just like you're gonna have to go to the field and meet him, and you're gonna speak to him, and that's what it's about. But if you look in the marshal, there's added details to the marshal that seems to be confusing. Because the point of the marshal, like we said, is to tell us that in Elul, there's no revelations like in the palace, but the king is available and there's a potential available you can greet. That's good. But then the Alter Rebbe adds that when a person comes to greet the king, he receives them pleasantly and a smiling countenance, which is saying that which is an inspiration. If we know that, and if that's what we get, so we're getting inspired by it. What we're trying to say is that on Elul, Elul is not that Hashem's inspired. It's not just the Elul. It's not coming from above. It's coming from below. So, but this is implying that's coming from above. This idea of inspiration is coming from above. So he's saying it's not the same inspiration like you're thinking. It's not the inspiration that you're going to have on Yom Kippur. It's a different type of inspiration. And that's what we're saying. We're saying it's more trying to help us understand, to really appreciate this idea of the king in the field. The king in the field is making himself available to everyone, that even if a person, meaning even if you're far gone, you're totally disconnected, and you say to yourself, and come Elul, and you say to yourself, I'm not even shy to Elul, I haven't done anything, I'm totally not even listening to my Yetzer Tov ever, to my Nefesh Lakis. I don't daven anymore, I don't learn anymore, I'm not the person I used to be in seminary. We say that to ourselves. What the Alter Rebbe is trying to teach us when he says, it's cool, it's everyone. Even if you're in the desert, you can be in the desert, meaning you can be in the worst of places in your life, unhealthiest places, and you're not doing anything good, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not davening, you're not learning, but even just physically not taking care of yourself, and you don't feel in a good place, the Alter Rebbe is telling you that Elul is the time period to come. Come to the king will receive you. Not just will receive you, but he'll show you a smiling countenance. That it's trying to not inspire you like Tishrei, but it's trying to inspire you enough to make that decision, to say, come, I can go greet the king. Even though I'm dirty and I have sewed garments, but the king makes himself available. Not just make himself available, he's going to show me a smiling countenance and he's going to greet me pleasantly. It's to everyone. He doesn't make conditions. And meaning I can be even in the desert, I can be in the worst situation, I can be a bum off the street, I'll come to the king and he's going to smile and he's going to talk to me and he's going to listen to me. And that's what we're saying. And we're saying just that knowledge, and the point of what he's trying to say here, we're going to go continue on Monday, saying just that knowledge, it inspires us enough to put in the effort to do what we need to do. Ultimately, it's all our effort. And that's the message of Elul. Elul is all our efforts. And everything that God is giving is to help us put that effort. I hope that was clear. To be continued on Monday.